Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I want to be taking a look at Delhi and the new development in the meta for Delhi. Because what we're seeing right now is a rather big change in the way that they play, where we have before been seeing a lot of Feudal Age play, maybe some early castle timings and stuff. Now we're seeing a larger focus on late game. We're seeing a great focus on playing with a lot of scholars, and I'm sure that because it's so strong right now, and this is also why I want to make this video, we're also going to be seeing some changes to this at some point. I don't know when or what those changes will be, but it is outlining a larger problem with Delhi currently, which is they have such a great scalability with their scholar. So what I would say is if you are playing Delhi, you have to look into this build. It is really, really good because what it allows you to do is to play late game. So what is the essence of the build? It is basically that you continue to play your normal early build. You play your Dome of Faith. I'll link a build order down in the description so you can try it out if you feel like it. And then what you do is you start to build up your scholar production. Scholars are your way of researching as Delhi. So if you don't know, Delhi is a civilization that does not pay any resources for their technologies. That is their veterancy upgrades, their economy upgrades, and that means that, well, they need to build scholars instead, and the scholars cost gold. Normally the scholars cost 130 gold, but you can get that cost halved by having the landmark Dome of Faith. Dome of Faith landmark is a Feudal Age landmark, which you will see right now, constructed right here, and what it does, it acts as a mosque, and it makes you able to produce scholars at 65 gold, so half the price of the original scholars. So you will never have to build a scholar out of your normal mosque. You just use your normal mosque for the techs, and you have the Dome of Faith constantly producing scholars. Then what you'll often see is people will either play Feudal, get up to like 10, 12 scholars, and then they're gonna go to castle with an existing army that they can then very quickly upgrade, or they will simply have like 5, 6 scholars, 7 scholars, and then go fast castle, get access to units, and then from there on out, they will play a 1 town center economy with 4 or 5 relics, depending on how many they get, which is going to outshine a lot of other 1 town center economies, which makes it very competitive to do fast castle versus fast castle with. So here in this game that I'm showing you right now, that has been running in the back here, it's been played out normally up against Order of the Dragon. What you would see historically is that people would play very, very aggressive, but Order of the Dragon is a really good defensive civ, and so you want to force them to go out. You can do this with Sacred Sites, but now we have an alternative, which is if the Order of the Dragon player wants to go fast up, we can do the same, and so we won't have the trouble of dealing with something like veteran men-at-arms. Especially the gilded ones are very, very strong, and so that is something to look out for. So let's focus a little bit more on the game. The game itself, I have scouted my opponent has gone for a barrack, and I've scouted that they've gone for a tower. So they are possibly trying to deny a few sacred sites early on, if I'm only going to go for Gaza Raiders, which is a correct read from my opponent. And then with the tower, they're then going to go fast castle. That's how I've read my opponent. That's how I understand that he's going to play this out. He might do it differently, but I don't think so here in this situation. So I'm just going to play it out. I get my Sanctity at 645, it's researched, and then I step on the sites and start taking all of the sites almost at once. This makes it so that my opponent will have a really hard time denying all of the sites at once. And then in the back, as I do this, I then start to go Castle Age. And the reason I do that is because I see the Burgrave now. So it was a correct read that he was going to go to Castle Age. Here's the Castle Age landmark, which means he's going to be pumping out a lot of melee units. He can make Lance-Connect spears and men-at-arms, and those are gilded. He has a couple of spears to deny the first sacred site, but he's not able to deny these other ones here. Remember, sacred sites give a lot of gold. I think it's 125 gold per minute that they give, which is the equivalent of 3.1 villagers, if I am not mistaken. And that means that you can play with a very good gold income here in the early Feudal Age to either produce more scholars or to go for a fast castle yourself. We are going to go with a few more villas and gold, prioritize getting food here, and then we're going to get Castle Age. Very simple. So let's speed it up a little bit. There's a little bit of back and forth here with Gaza Raiders, trying to deny the sacred sites here with spears and the scout. So I already keep one sacred site here. The second one here will possibly be decapped, but I just start capping the one in the middle as I then start to age up. My opponent is already up, and he lost his scout. So he doesn't know if I'm aging up or not. That's a little bit of an important side note here. Then I know that he's possibly gonna go man-at-arms. And then I'm just going to go House of Learning. This is a big part of it. You should not be going Compound of the Defender as much anymore. Because playing with a lot of keeps and playing that economy game is not necessary. Your income from your sacred sites, your income from your relics, your income from all of the economy upgrades that you get for free very quickly with a lot of scholars will make up for that income deficit that you might find. So, House of Learning grants you a bunch of cool upgrades. Not only do we get Honed Blades, which gives us 3 more attack, it also gives us Pikes. And Pikes gives us half a range more on our crossbows and our archers. That's a big deal, because crossbows and archers are already OP. You can micro them, you can get a lot more damage output compared to melee units. So if you get this upgrade, Pikes, you get half a range more, and up against other ranged blobs, which is a meta we are in currently, where we're playing a lot of ranged units versus a lot of ranged units, you will out micro them because you have half a range more to do with. So you can have half a tile more of units firing versus your opponent. Big deal, because your units will become really, really effective, and you can catch up to a lot of units that way. Another note here is we took all the relics as quick as we could. We had our Pro Scouts out, taking deer. We took our relics immediately upon age up, and now it doesn't really matter that he decaps. Now we don't really care too much. We are still using our first 3-4 Gaza Raiders to go and take a look at if he's gone out on the map. But ultimately, we're getting our relics, which is the most important thing. After that, we start mass producing crossbows. We have a scholar inside of the archer range, because now we know, we saw it on the sacred side, that he's going to bring quite a lot of melee units. So he's got a couple of spears, and he's got a couple of man-at-arms. Cool. Whether he's making man-at-arms or spears doesn't really matter. You can make a massive crossbow mass this way, and you'll be absolutely fine. So try it out. Try going for mass crossbows, get more archer ranges after, and then switch into veteran archers. They're very, very strong, especially up against spearmen. Then what you want to do is you want to use Pro Scouts, take the food you need so that you don't need to get out of your base. If you need to get out of your base, try to plan your expansion so that you are going to go for this berry, then the deer in the bottom, then the berry in the bottom, so you don't have to defend multiple fronts. It's only one side. Really, really good tip there. All right, so what are we looking at? Well, we're looking at upgrades that don't take that long. The upgrades here in this building take 1 minute and 11 seconds. Home Blades 135, and we only have 8 scholars in total right now that are researching. Our blacksmith upgrades, the tier 1s take 1 minute and 23, and the tier 2 take 2 minutes. So these are very quick. Crossbows, very, very good unit, can do a lot of damage, and it's a really just a great way of playing this out. We're going to speed it up a bit, because all that's happening is we are building crossbows, we are going to go for a wall defender too, and then we're just going to kite our way out of this. So crossbows really are king here. We are taking a little bit of damage here from the spears, because there are a lot of spearmen, but it's fine. Absolutely fine. What we do is we pop the relic, he goes back, we just keep kiting with the crossbows, back into the base. Use the buildings. Place your buildings in a good way, so that you can stand behind them as your opponent tries to get into melee range and blocks himself. Really, really good defensive tip. Just build your buildings tightly, so that you can use ranged units in an effective manner. So that's a really, really good one. We start taking our opponent's deer, and I'm aware at this point that he's probably on a few farms, and that he's gathering over here. Notice now, we're going fast in. So he pushed before, he couldn't break through, and now I know that I can then go up. Because it'll take him too long to keep building up a mass, I can then go his academy and get the upgrades from the Imperial Age very, very quickly. This is a university, basically, that gives you food as well. And you could also go for the other one, so you can get your elephants with hand cannons on top. That's very good if you don't have an army, but it's also a nice addition if you do. So I'd really recommend that. Speed it up a little bit. Usually what happens when you go for Castle Age or Imperial Age is your opponent will attack you. We are not going to be too scared about that, because we are constantly building crossbows. We are upgrading our crossbows as well, and it takes us 1 minute and 18 seconds. That's crazy. It's so fast. With 14 garrison scholars, 10 of them inside of the Hussar Academy, we can get this upgrade on our crossbows so quickly. And then when we're getting pushed by a lot of melee, we can just use the scholar and get them to go back while we're constantly fighting. So use the relics defensively, not to try to convert necessarily, but just to force your opponent to not go up against your range units. This is so effective. So I'd really advise doing this. Because he takes damage constantly and has to go back and forth. Using relics like this is so effective. Do it. It's amazing. We're then getting pushed here. We get our upgrades through. We've been in Imperial for like a minute and a half. It's so damn efficient. Next up, what I want to take a look at is a more unfavorable matchup. The one we just reviewed was a little bit more favorable for Delhi, I would say. This is probably one of the worst matchups for Delhi that we're looking into now. Delhi versus Chinese. The reason it's so bad is because our opponent is playing with Shogunus. They have Barbican that they can use defensively. It's really hard for us to do damage because of hand cannons. So there's a lot of stuff going on for the Chinese, which is tax system and getting gold from upgrades that make them very competitive versus Delhi. Delhi usually struggles in this matchup, particularly because it's hard for them to contest sites. The Shuganu mass is very, very strong, but you can get around it. A lot of the times, it takes some time for that Shuganu mass to build up, and so going for a Delhi fast castle can be quite strong. You don't need to fully lock down all of your sites. You don't need to build up 50 archers and a lot of Gauss Raiders to take out the Shogunus in the Feudal Age, when you can just go next stage, get man-at-arms, get Castle Age archers, and then play it out for either a longer Castle Age with relics or Imperial Age. Really important to understand that you have options now when you play Delhi, simply because of this landmark, the Dome of the Faith. Dome of the Faith, again, giving you 65 gold per scholar, allows you to get upgrades so quickly. Get your blacksmith. Sometimes get a second blacksmith if you're going to go fast castle or fast imp. The second blacksmith allows you to get the +2 ranged attack, the +2 ranged armor a lot quicker if those are the ones that you're prioritizing, instead of having to wait twice as long. And it's only 150 wood. So it's actually a really good idea if you're going to go fast castle to invest into a second blacksmith. Here, we're playing out normal feudal opening. Again, we're doing stable into, a blacksmith into stable and an archer range, and then we're going to get the sacred sites. Our opponent has placed a barbican in the front here, covering the wood line, food, and deer, right? So berries and deer, which is a really, really good move here because I can't deny it now. Then what I'm doing is I'm just responding to what my opponent is doing. He's making a few horsemen, which is a good move. He wants to deny the sacred sites, and then we're just going to take one of them. We don't care about getting sacred site victory. Delhi should not really care about that. It's a nice to have. Something you can go for if you have the option to, which is usually, okay, you're in a good position. You should maybe go for it if there's 4 or 5 minutes left. But here, it's not what we're going for. We're going for the gold, 100%. Get the gold so you can go up. We're up at 10 minutes. We have prepared a couple of barracks for men-at-arms production. We have also put out a couple of our scholars. They're getting chased a bit here, so it's a little bit difficult for us to just take the relics. But that's what we want to do. We want to go and get all the relics so that we can get that extra income. Especially because Chinese actually gets a lot of extra villagers from Song Dynasty. So Song Dynasty is Barbican and the Imperial Palace. Imperial Academy. That grants them a larger production of villagers. I think it's 17 or 18 seconds per villager instead of the usual 20. But that's fine. We will then catch up with our relics. Here we're getting attacked as we just got up to castle. As I mentioned before, you will often get attacked when you go to castle or Imperial Age. And so just be aware when you do that, that you have the counter ready immediately. Get your barracks prepared before you reach castle age, so that you can instantly start making man-at-arms. And then when they attack you, you're actually able to defend yourself. Again, now we don't have any sites, but we are able to take 3 relics in total right now. So we've got 2 in the Dome of the Faith, 1 in the Mosque. We've got 5 scholars currently doing the research, and the other ones are out on the map. And then, as we are working on relics and scholars, we are now full producing knights and men-at-arms. I would not advise making a lot of knights, just a few for the mobility aspect of it, because what will happen is a lot of times people just go spear crossbow. So get men-at-arms and archers. It's a really good composition as well, or go knights archer. Men-at-arms definitely stronger against a Feudal Age opponent versus a lancer, which will usually just die to a lot of spears. So if your opponent's in Feudal Age, go for men-at-arms. If your opponent's in Castle Age, consider going lancers, but definitely consider as well going for a ranged composition instead. It's a lot stronger that way. Alright. So we got our first war event. War elephants kind of don't do well against spears and crossbow. That's the counter. So have them accompanied by archers. That way, your opponent will try to take out the war elephant, but you will be killing the enemy spears and crossbows with your archers. So that's a really, really good tip there. Think about how you build your comps. Think in how is your opponent going to build his comp? Are they going to counter yours? And then how could you add units to your composition that makes it stronger? You can prompt the crossbows early by having men at arms, and then you can go for archers. Here he targets the war elephant. He ends up losing a lot of crossbows himself because the crossbows are getting targeted down by the archers. So we pull the war elephants back. We can heal them up again if we want to. We take the sides back, and now we're pushing. We've won a really, really good fight here, and I can decide now, do I want to go Imperial, or do I want to go for a push? And right now, I know that my opponent's run out of deer. He's only got the food up here, so I can pressure that. At the same time, he's probably going to expand as well, and that means that I can maybe lock down some of his other economy too. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go a little bit aggressive here. I see he's making farms. He's making spears and crossbow only, and I've got my archers, and I've got those just... the crossbows as well, just hammering down the enemy composition. And so here, I'm not in that much of a rush to get Imperial. I would not want to get Imperial as long as there's this much value to be had from staying in Castle Age. Right now, he's losing so many villagers. We can take a look at the villager losses right now. We lost 3 villagers from his push when I went Castle, and now he's already lost 11, going up to 12 here. So, if you can get that many villager kills and you can equalize, that is amazing, because then your Imperial will be a lot stronger. If not, then you can also keep going Castle, and then that's also going to feel better and better and better as you get more villager kills, because their economy is now weakened. Again, if you have +2 ranged attack, and your opponent has weaker units that aren't armor units, then they will do a lot of damage to even stuff like horsemen. Because, hey, upgrades are so cheap for Delhi, you're going to get it no matter what. War elephant, tower elephant, then a push, a couple of villa kills, and this game is almost over. We've made a little bit of a farm transition in the back, and that's okay. You can definitely do that. And then we're starting to go Imperial, because we don't need to make more units than this. And so we can decide to double down, or we can go Imperial. We're playing it safe. We're going up with the Hisar Academy, the Madrasa landmark. And the moment that we're up, I think my opponent surrenders. So, a full lockdown here of the farms. He's making a keep. It's a good idea. We get the Imperial Age, and he surrenders. So, this strategy, absolutely ludicrously strong because of the free upgrades. I really recommend trying it out, especially while it lasts. And yeah, that's it for me. Have a good one.